Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the OnPattison podcast with Mike Missinelli. That's me. I'm Mike Missinelli, by the way. But as in every week, I'm joined by my co-host, Anthony Sanfilippo. You can see him on the screen to your left. Hello, Ann. How you doing today?
Doing good, Mike. It's good to be back this week with you.
Awesome. And, of course, the Eagles, are they back? That's the question we have to ask as we get into the show. We'll do a lot of baseball talk today as well, a little college football talk, and some sports talk, radio talk, which I think a lot of people will be entertained by our conversation. But in any event, a few tidbits from last week's 31-0 thrashing of the Las Vegas Raiders. First of all, it was like one of the quickest games possible. It was like a 2 hours and 31-minute game, and their first shutout since December 20th of 2018. 31-point margin was the largest margin of victory since they shut out the Green Bay Packers in 1990. 31-0, 75 yards the Eagles limited the Raiders to, the fewest allowed by the Eagles in the Super Bowl era, the fewest overall since they gave up 49 to the Chicago Cardinals. You were at that game, I think, December 4th, 1955. Yeah. It was also the fewest yards allowed by a team in the NFL since Cleveland allowed 58 yards by Arizona. Dallas Goedert scored 2 touchdowns. He has 9 on the season. That's more touchdowns than his 3 seasons combined. He's now one off the single-season record for touchdowns. Brandon Graham, the oldest Eagle player to record a sack in a game. Zach Bond with his 3rd interception of the game. And Jalen Hurts, even though it wasn't a great game, became the first quarterback in Eagle history to record multiple games with a 150-plus passer rating and an 800 completion percentage in the same season. So following a losing streak, they get right at a get-well game against the Raiders. Your outlook at that game?
Look, they needed it, right? They absolutely needed to do what they did. But it was the freaking Raiders, man. Like, I can't take anything away from it because that's the worst football team I've seen in I can't tell you how long.
Well, you are taking something away from it.
What the rate that
you're taking a little away from the 31-0 victory.
Oh, taking away from the Eagles. Yeah. Sure. I thought you meant take away from the game itself. No, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if what we saw last week means they're back. I don't. And that's the thing that's my concern is that, yeah, all right, they pounded the Raiders and they may do the same thing again against the Commanders on Saturday night. They might, because the Commanders stink too.
Yeah.
I just worry that, is it enough against a good team? Is it enough against good defenses? Like, I don't know. I don't know the game. It might be.
Clearly, the Eagles followed a formula. Their formula for winning is really kind of simple, isn't it? They have to play really good defense. They get a little play action to get the running game going, conservative offense, and Hurts has to run the football. That was the formula they used against the Commanders. Now, you're asking whether that would happen against a good team, and that's a good question. It's a legitimate question.
Yeah, I mean, it is because, look, the one thing I liked about what they did is they tried a few things a little bit differently. You could certainly see some changes that they implemented in the past week in the offense. Both of those Goddard touchdowns were, those little shovel pass kind of plays, little misdirection, right? So that's not something that they've done for a while this year. That's great. They were under center a lot, Mike.
They were, and that was a key. Right. Being under center, like in the running game going the way they did, that's a key for them. I don't know why they can't stay with that plan the whole time.
They're 4-0 this year when they get under center for more than 20 snaps.
It really is amazing. It opens up what they do best, and they were reluctant to do it. But you're right; they showed some different motion. That one touchdown that Goddard it wasn't the conventional shovel pass. He kind of like jet sweep action.
Yeah,
a little motion there, and got started. Then they got him. I thought that Kevin Patullo showed some flashes in this game.
Right, and so there are some positives to take away on that. What I don't know is if it's enough. Like, is that enough when you're going up against? I mean, there's you might face that Green Bay defense again, let's just say, in the playoffs, or Seattle's defense if they don't win tonight against the Rams. That's a possible opponent for you, or the Rams defense. Even they're all good defenses. Is this enough of a wrinkle to the offense to then make it be something that will?
It's a really good question. So right now, if you look at the possible playoff opponents, right now they're locked in with San Francisco. Yeah. They're behind San Francisco in the power rankings, which we'll go over in a second. But Seattle, a very good team, and the Rams is a very good team. Whoever gets that number 1 seed stands alone. So can they beat the 49ers or the Seattle Seahawks? Because I think the Rams are going to wind up with the bye anyway.
Yeah, I mean, one of those teams is going to get the bye, right? So the Rams-Seahawks game tonight is huge. Like, it kind of dictates who has control in the NFC West.
Who are you liking that game, by the way?
I like Seattle.
Do you?
Yeah,
-1.5 they are.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's a tough call, but I like the way Seattle plays defense, and I think it's a low-scoring game, and so I'll take the Seahawks at home. But I'm not 100% on that game, but that's why I go Seattle. But so I think that you're going to get one of those teams. Look, the 49ers can jump in to the mix for that number 1 seed if Seattle wins tonight. They're not so much if the Rams win, but if Seattle wins, they have a head-to-head game with the Seahawks ahead, and then if they won that, they would have a tiebreaker on them. So like
so you look at it like this: Eagles defense against Brock Purdy or Sam Darnold in a playoff setting.
Well, look, the Eagles defense might drag them to victories in the playoffs.
Okay, but that's victory. That's whether they're dragged by the defense or not. I think what I'm getting to is, are they good? We know what they are. They're not going to outscore you 35 to 25 to 24. But their defense can hold you down to the point where they can win a game with their defense. So are the 49ers in Seattle better than the Eagles right now?
Right now, I still say yes.
You say yes. Okay.
Right now.
I mean, what are you worried about? What are you worried about? This guy's over here worrying.
They shouldn't be better than the Eagles right now. They shouldn't be. That's the thing. The Eagles have more talent than both of those teams. But the reality is that right now those teams are playing better football than the Eagles are.
Uh-huh.
So that's why. That's why I say
that's fair enough. They play the Commanders. Commanders are 4-10, but they're coming off a big 29-21 win over the Giants. Now, the line on this game is -6.5, which is a little fishy to me. I'm thinking the Eagles have to be a touchdown better than this team, but that line is telling me otherwise, so I don't know where to go on that. The Commanders are league worst 7.5 per passing attempt given up, 6th worst 4.7 per run. They have a horrible defense. They've given up 352.5 yards a game and 23.8 points a game. They can't cover the tight ends. We just talked about a tight end having a great season. They've given up almost 1,000 yards to tight ends this season. So, and Mariota is playing, and there's no Ertz. So why only 6.5? Fishy line?
The line is weird. The only thing I can say to that, Mike, is this same Washington team with Marcus Mariota gave Denver a really good game. Was it 2 weeks ago, right? Yeah. And so like I sit there and say, maybe you look at that and go, okay, maybe they have a little bit of something that they can do. I don't see it though. I mean, I think the Eagles defense is superior and they should win this game handily, but the line does intrigue me a little bit.
Very fishy. I got to be honest with you. My first look was that the Eagles will cover that. And I go, wait a minute. They set that 6.5 for a reason. Maybe this might be a field goal game. And if it's a field goal game, what do we take out of it? We go,
well, that's the thing.
You know what we're going to say? Oh, they're not ready. You're not ready for prime time. They only beat that team by a field goal.
Let's say they win that game. 19-16, Mike.
Yeah.
Is Philadelphia happy after Saturday? You clinched the NFC East?
Absolutely not.
19-16?
Nope. No way. All right, let's look at our power rankings here, and I know you always love the power rankings.
Yeah, I do.
Where are the Eagles this week? Let's go down the list because I like to have the drama in here. All right. So number 1, we got to go with, obviously we're going to go with the Rams at number 1. We got the Denver Broncos at number 2. We've got the Seattle Seahawks at number 3. We've got the Buffalo Bills at 4. We've got New England Patriots at 5. We've got the Niners at 6. The Niners getting some love at 6. The Texans at 7 with that great defense.
Let me say something about that.
8.
Can I say something about that Texans team, Mike? Yeah. I think that Texans team is still underrated.
You might be right. I might be the sleeper team for the Super Bowl.
They are a team I think that could go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC.
I think you could be right about that. Yeah. That defense is unbelievable. The Packers are 8. Again, ahead of the Eagles. The Jaguars, a hot team at 10-4, are 9. Well, I never would have figured at this time of the season that the Jaguars would be ahead of the Eagles. Then you got the Bears at 10 and the Chargers at 11. And then your Philadelphia Eagles come in at 12. So count how many teams are ahead of the Eagles in the power rankings.
Yeah, 11. Yeah, it's crazy.
11, but in the NFC even.
Yeah, no, right?
Bears and Packers are ahead of them.
well,
49ers are ahead of them.
yeah. Yeah, I don't think the Bears are better than the Eagles, but they're going to be ranked ahead of them because they beat them. It's
Yeah, but they're
silly.
way ahead of them. They're like several notches ahead of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's not ideal. Look, the one advantage the Eagles are going to have in whoever their playoff opponent is that it's going to be a home game. But even then, like I don't know. It's all about how that offense performs, and it can perform at the right time. And I want to bring up this comment from Steve, who says that
Vino back with us. He's with us every week. By the
yeah,
way.
he's awesome. He's awesome. He says the Niners have the Colts, Bears, and Seahawks. Not an easy finish. We have Washington twice at the Bills. I think we're in better shape. The problem is that for the Eagles to get the number 1 seed, they need the Seahawks, Rams, and Bears to each lose 2 of their last 3.
They won't.
And the Packers and 49ers to lose one of their last 3. And the Eagles have to win all 3.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot to happen. So I don't think the number 1 seed is really.
No, I'm not even looking at the number 1 seed, to be honest with you. I'm not even teased by that notion. But you're teased by an interesting notion. You have a theory on why Dallas losing, which the Philadelphia nation applauded when the Cowboys lose, but you weren't that thrilled about it. What is your theory here about this not being a great thing?
So Dallas losing basically made the NFC East a cakewalk at this point for the Eagles, right? They just have to win one of their final 3 games, or Dallas loses one of their final 3 games.
Right. The magic number is 1, as they say in baseball.
Yeah, magic number is 1, right? So I look at it, Mike, and I say they're probably going to beat the Commanders this Saturday, and they'll lock up the NFC East, and that's great. But if Dallas would have won, it would have forced the Eagles to have to play a very important game that mattered on the schedule, that mattered for the chance to win the division against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. The reality of it is now is if you win Saturday, that game doesn't have as much meaning. Yeah, the starters are going to play. They're not going to pull them out for 2 weeks.
So why do you think that would hurt the Eagles to have an easy streak over the last couple of games?
Not that it's to have it easy, but to have no competition for the division. Because if you're not going to get the number 1 seed and you've already won the division, I think that you're going to be a little bit more vanilla. You don't want to put things on film for your potential playoff opponents. And so therefore, we're not sure what the Eagles offense is going to be against a good team. What we saw against the Raiders, what we might see against the Commanders might be something that's not nearly as effective against a good team. And Buffalo's the last chance to let it shine. And so I worry a little bit that if they lock it up tomorrow, or Saturday rather, that means that we're not going to see.
So you're saying that they would not be tested enough. Now I look at it and go, that's probably a good thing to stay vanilla. You don't advertise where because the playoffs are coming and you're going to put all that stuff on tape. Like, why wouldn't that be a better thing for the Eagles?
Because this offense has been so bad and inconsistent. Like
you're saying, it still needs to grow. It's what you're saying.
You need to figure out what you can do and do well. You need to figure it out. You can't just figure it out in practice against each other where nobody's hitting each other.
Okay.
To me, I think that having something to chase, having something to play for while you're figuring that out would have been the best case scenario.
The other side of the coin is the injury, though. The injury factor.
That's the other thing. Yeah, you got to worry about.
Well, you would have to worry about that if you're playing full tilt, right?
Look, if Seattle wins this game tonight, they're the one team that the Eagles don't have a tiebreaker on right now. Okay. If Seattle wins this thing tonight, you go into that game against Buffalo and it's like, we're not catching them. So what do we do? Do we play everybody the whole game? Is Jalen Hurts playing the whole game? Is A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith playing the whole game? Saquon? I don't know. I don't know what the Eagles are going to do. I think that they're going to.
It's an interesting theory that you still think they need to be tested and to show some things against a good team. Yes. And I look at it if you wrap it up early, you can rest on your laurels a little bit, and in the end, that benefits you more.
Well, I think you can rest. I have no problem with them resting on their laurels in week 18, the last game of the year. It doesn't matter. You don't have to play any of those guys. You could basically, in effect, give yourself a bye week that you don't have. Okay, I'm fine with that because it's against a bad team. But the Buffalo game is an opportunity to play against a playoff caliber, Super Bowl contending caliber team. And I feel like you should try to be at your best for that game. And so the reality of it being that game might not have any meaning to the Eagles takes a little bit away from that. And that scares me a little bit from that perspective.
All right, that's fair. But we're going to get to baseball issues now. Jim Salisbury, great baseball scribe, been a great scribe for years, who has his own podcast now. He's going to join us in about 5 minutes. But the Phillies make two interesting deals here. They got, first of all, Nick Castellanos is still on the team, as far as I know, but he has been totally replaced by Adolis Garcia.
Yep,
32 years old. He'll be the right fielder next year. They got him in a similar contract that they got Keller, 1 year, $10 million free agent deal, and Garcia is going to be 33 playing for the Phillies next year. He has played for the Rangers since 2020. Was not tendered a contract last month. Now, this always bothers me when a team doesn't tender a contract to a guy and they just let him loose. 225, 278, and 397 last year were his numbers, with a 96 OPS plus over the last 2 years. He was expected to make $12.1 million in a salary arbitration, and he is a whiffmeister. 30.3% whiff rate last year, 33.6 the year before. That's more than Castellanos was, even though you look at Castellanos as a guy who was a sucker for that outside slider. And Garcia's bat speed has also dipped in the last 2 years, but he does hit the ball hard occasionally. So what was your take about this acquisition?
I'm a little bit perplexed by it, Mike. I mean, look, it's certainly a defensive upgrade in right field. Garcia is a really good defensive right fielder. He's got a strong arm, gets to a lot of balls. He was, I think, the top right fielder in baseball in defensive runs saved last year. He's among the leaders in outs above average. So defensively, it's a big upgrade over Castellanos. Offensively, he hits a very similar profile to Castellanos. Now, the Phillies are trying to spin it that the Rangers had a lot of injuries, and he got into a mode where he was trying to be a superhero and hit the ball out of the ballpark every time he came up, and that's why he was swinging through so much, et cetera, et cetera. You can see when he makes contact, his exit velocity is still great and all that stuff. Fine. But when I look at bat speed dropping off by 2 miles per hour over 2 years, that's a concern, because that means teams can attack you with fastballs and you're not getting around on them. And then they're going to get you to cheat. So you'll get fastballs early in the count. This is what people did to Castellanos.
Fastballs in, sliders away.
Right. And then you'll be fouling off those fastballs because you don't have the bat speed to get around on them. Yeah. And then you start getting the breaking stuff away and you end up chasing it. And his chase rate's pretty high. And so you end up with another version of Castellanos. Is the defensive upgrade enough?
No, I think we're crossing our fingers again. Yeah. It's a finger crossing move.
Yep.
They had to do something. Castellanos was gone and he was out of favor here. So they make this kind of move, and it's a Keller move. Keller disappointed. Will this guy disappoint? I don't know. Keller was a good defensive player too, but it wasn't enough for everybody to say that guy is a valuable acquisition.
Right.
So yeah, I agree with you. I don't know what to make of this Garcia thing, but it does leave the Phillies in an interesting situation because they have an everyday right fielder. They have Justin Crawford's going to be their starting center fielder, and the platoon in left field, Marsh and Otto Kemp. Listen, I don't know why I don't like Otto Kemp, but I don't as an everyday player or as even a platoon outfielder. I don't see him in that role, and that's the way it's going to look right now. He or Weston Wilson, and neither of that floats my boat at all.
So, you know what? The interesting thing with this, Mike, is, and I asked Dave Dombrowski about this down at winter meetings, because I asked about the platoon. Like, I mean, what do you like about it? And I love when he gives a history lesson. And the comparator he made, and you'll remember these guys. He said, back in the day, Earl Weaver with the Baltimore Orioles in 1983 had an outfield platoon of Gary Renicky and John Lowenstein. And the two of them together had an OPS over 800. They hit 30 some home runs, whatever. And it worked out really well. And so then I went and looked at Brandon Marsh and Otto Kemp's OPS. Brandon Marsh against righties, Otto Kemp against lefties last year. Their OPS was identical, 827 to Renicky and Lowenstein.
Oh, wow.
So I thought that was really kind of an interesting that he had that ready to go, and that was with the comparison.
Right. Well, whatever. Listen, platoons work. I just don't believe it. I'm not an Otto Kemp believer. All right, let's take a break here because Jim Salisbury is going to join us in about 30 seconds or whenever, and we'll talk more about that and the acquisition of Brad Keller, which I think is a really good acquisition. It kind of reminds me of an acquisition like Jeff Hoffman, but we'll talk about that. It's the OnPattison podcast. Mike Missinelli, Anthony Sanfilippo. Coming up, Jim Salisbury talks some Phillies.
the Uncle George with succulent snow crabs, tasty mussels, and shrimp. There's the Pete's Feast with 2 pounds of sweet succulent crab legs, a dozen shrimp, clams, and a pound of mussels. Or create your own boil. Add a lobster tail or a delicious Dungeness cluster. Include smoked sausage, corn, and potatoes, served in our tasty broth, made with white wine and our signature seasonings. A shellfish lover's dream at Chickies and Pete's.
The Peruzzi Automotive Group on Business Route 1 in Fairless Hills is looking for auto techs, all skill levels. Here's a chance to work for a locally owned family business that offers many benefits. For more information, call the service director, John Damarotis, at 215-943-6200. That's 215-943-6200, or visit any Peruzzi service department. The Peruzzi Automotive Group on Business Route 1 in Fairless Hills is looking for auto techs, all skill levels. Here's a chance to work for a locally owned family business that offers many benefits. For more information, call the service director, John Damarotis, at 215-943-6200. That's 215-943-6200, or visit any Peruzzi service department. The Peruzzi Automotive Group on Business Route 1 in Fairless Hills is looking for auto techs, all skill levels. Here's a chance to work for a locally owned family business that offers many benefits. For more information, call the service director, John Damarotis, at 215-943-6200. That's 215-943-6200, or visit any Peruzzi service department.
This is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. Every champion needs a good game plan. BCWSA and I want to make sure you have a game plan when it comes to conserving our most precious resource, water. Whether you're washing dishes, brushing your teeth, or watering your garden, there are ways you can save water and save money. Visit bcwsa.net for tips on conserving water. BCWSA, proven. This is Tommy Green from the 1993.
Your day-to-day life is hectic between having to pick up the kids, make dinner, the countless other tasks that you got to get done. Rob's Automotive and Collision is there to make your life a whole lot easier. Make sure you take advantage of their spacious waiting rooms, the large flat-screen TVs, complimentary coffee and muffins, and free Wi-Fi. So even when you do have to stop, Rob's is there to make you feel right at home. Give Rob's a call today at 215-826-9200 for any of your auto repair needs.
Mike Snelly and Anthony St. Philippo. Well, we're talking about the Phillies and their acquisitions, and one thing we didn't talk about, Ann, as we wait to Jim Salisbury coming in. Here he is.
Hey, guys.
Right in. Look at that, the smiling face of one Jim Salisbury, the man who runs a podcast called The Philly Show, also columnist for PHLY. How you doing, Jim? Haven't seen you in a while.
Yes, I'm doing well. Good to see you, Mike. Good to see you, Anthony. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
we were just talking about the Adolis Garcia acquisition, and Anthony is not that high on it. I want to ask you your opinion on what the Phillies have done here.
I guess I'm sort of more like a to be determined if I'm high on it. See what happens. I know he had that one good year, that great year in 23, 39 home runs, 107 RBIs, 22 postseason RBIs. But yeah, the last 2 seasons have been, red flags. Hasn't done much at all. Certainly hasn't, has hit a little bit of power. I think he had 20 some odd home runs and then 19, but a lot of swing and miss, a lot of chase, a lot of strikeouts. The on base percentage dreadful, OPS in the mid 600s. So, 2 years to me is a trend. Is he really gonna, if he plays to that level in 2026? Yeah, it's not a good thing. So, but I think for $10 million, and I think that was probably, they really all had the only, I think that's what they had budgeted in the outfield because they have other areas they want to spread their money. That's what you get for $10 million. You get a bounce back candidate who people have question marks about. I do think this. I think in this ballpark he can wake up and hit 23 to 26 home runs, and I do think he'll play good defense. So, I think there'll be some pluses. I don't think you have to, it's all doom and gloom, but yeah, if he gives you another 600 OPS and he swings at everything, then he's not going to solve your right-handed bat problem. But I do think he can give you some power and some good defense. And I guess I'll just reserve judgment to see what happens with maybe new voices as a hitting coach, different environment, change of scenery. There are some qualities that are, promising. He hits the ball hard, but the contact rate it can be troubling, and the chase can be troubling. So kind of we'll see,
Yeah, it's funny. He hits the ball hard, and yet his bat speed is down. So I don't know what that seems like.
He's a very strong man.
Yeah, I know he's strong. He's strong.
My question about it, though, Jim, is this: is that look, I look at it and I see, is it an upgrade over Castellanos in right field? Yes, because of his defense, right? That alone, even if he's profiles about the same offensively, it's a marginal upgrade. But is it too marginal? Like when you look at the lineup and you see that they aren't really making any other major change. I mean, other than Justin Crawford is now going to play probably in center field, as Dave told you when you asked the question in the press conference the other day. Is it enough of a change from what they've had in the last couple of years to sit there and go, oh yeah, well, this is going to be better? Or is it just more of the same?
It's probably not enough of a change if he's the same guy he was last year.
Yeah.
If there's improvement, which they think he can, show, then it might be enough of a change. But I just don't know. We're gonna have to find out. I would have loved to have seen the right-handed bat beat Bo Bichette, but it doesn't seem to be in the budget for a team that's going to be over $300 million again. So I will remind you of this. I know there's a lot of, criticism about the offense, but they were in a lot of categories last year, top 5.
Yeah.
I don't expect Schwarber to hit 56 every year. So, but I still think there's much to like about this offense, but they need Aroldis Chapman. I do that all the time. Adolis Garcia.
Adolis Garcia.
Yeah, Adolis Garcia to be closer to what he was in 23. I'm not sure he can be, but closer to what he was. I mean, you can't live with an OPS in the 6s.
Yeah. Well, they
need more from Harper, and they need, Turner to have another good year and Schwarber to have another good year, because the clock is ticking here and you need all those guys. So I wish I had a crystal ball and could tell you that Garcia was going to be a great signing. I can't. I understand it. I understand what they're thinking. I understand what they're, kind of banking on. They're hoping for in terms of the improvement, but I'm not sure it's going to come. We will find out. I do think there is something to what they talked about the other day about not trying to do too much, and maybe, having a Harper around in the lineup, a stud player like that with big reputation, maybe having the NL batting champ and the NL home run champ, maybe will convince him I don't have to do too much, but he's going to have to lay off pitches off the plate because teams are so good at game planning for guys who chase.
You know what's going to happen as soon as he does that. Like frightening nightmares of Castellanos coming back. That's what people are going to think right away.
It was very productive when at points in his 4 years here. But when I can still see those hanging breaking balls and kind of those backup sliders that he would spin on and just kill.
Yeah.
But when it would break off the plate, it could get ugly. So I don't know what's going to happen. They're going to have to convince him to swing at strikes, and when it's not a strike, take your walk. But it's very hard to do. It's very hard to get a guy to change his ways when he's been, when it's been so ingrained in him, because, when the heat is on, you're going to revert back to what you do,
Yep.
And when you're in the batter's box and the heat is on, you kind of, what you've been doing for a long time will come out. It's really, really, that's why Schwarber, I think, the improvements he's made in the batter's box over the last 3 or 4 years has been kind of very impressive.
Talk to me about Brad Keller. They give him 2 years, $22 million. Big leap of faith to be a setup guy for Duran. Are you feeling good about this one?
Yeah, I am. Where you're looking for a bounce back or kind of gambling or hoping for a bounce back from Garcia, I think Keller's already had that bounce back. He's had that change of role, gone from in the last couple of years, gone from a starter, middling starter, to a pretty good right-handed reliever. I think he's found his niche. As often happens when guys make that conversion, it unlocks a little more velocity, and you've seen that on his fastball. And teams these days love guys that can make the ball move, laterally with the sweeper and the slider. And he's got good ones. He gets that ball to move away from right-handers. And that's something they need. They really wanted a guy who could get right-handers out. He's kind of death on righties. And I think don't you agree, Anthony? Him and Alvarado will be the delivery men to Duran. And that's not bad.
And here's the interesting thing, the way I look at it, Jim, and I want to kind of get your take on this. So obviously they wanted to upgrade velocity in the bullpen, right? I mean, they didn't have that at the end of the year last year.
There were a lot of 91s down there.
Yeah. All right. So now you look at the back of the bullpen and you see Duran as your closer, and you see Keller and Alvarado, right? And Kirkering can still throw with some velocity. The kid that they just got in the Rule 5 that they're going to take a gamble on, and that McCambly kid from Florida, like he could throw that way as well. Does that open up Matt Strahm to be shipped out of here at this point because of how many guys you have at the back end of the bullpen now that can throw with velocity?
Well, we've been talking about that since the season ended, that he could be a trade candidate. And I think it's very possible. When I first saw Keller get $11 million a year, I was like, okay, where are they getting this from? Because, they're right up against it. JT, they got a budget for JT. Schwarber and JT, likely the two big expenditures. Where are they getting it? I'm thinking, okay, this could mean they move a Strahm. We've heard enough chatter about that to believe that possibility is real. And I think the other piece of that math would be the exercising of Alvarado's option. So you have big lefty coming back, maybe. Alvarado's your big lefty in high leverage, and Banks is your other lefty, a little bit toward the middle innings, and it would make Strahm expendable. I think they probably needed a right-hander more than they needed that left-hander, given their current personnel. So, yeah, I think he's very much in play. It wouldn't surprise me to see him stay, but it wouldn't surprise me one bit to see him be on the move. So
what's he make right now? Is it what, 7.5?
7.5, yeah.
7.5 guy.
And what do you think his value is in a trade, Jim? Like, what are you getting back for Matt Strahm?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't know.
Infielder?
I'm sorry?
Utility infielder? Right-handed bat off the bench? I don't know. What could you get?
It's beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Depends, how that team values him and what they want to give up. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't give him away. I think he's had a pretty good run here.
Yeah.
But I think there would be some value in clearing that $7.5 million, because you have some depth on the left side. So,
and maybe you look at it this way too, Jim. Like, we know that they have a few top end prospects. Obviously, they're the guys that are close to being major league ready. But then beyond that, their next crop of prospects are, down in single A. There's not that middle group, right? And so maybe a middle group prospect.
I would take. I have an answer for you now.
Yeah.
We're looking at this dance they're doing with JT Realmuto at a crucial position, and he's obviously going to be 34 next year. And I don't see a long-term solution at a premium position coming. I might trade him for, I don't think anybody's going to give up like a blue chip catching prospect, but really dig into some other teams' farm systems and find the best teenage catching prospect that you think you can get, that a team is not going to make off limits. So I would like some catching.
Yeah.
Because they got
not bad.
I want to get a guy who can catch for me for 8 to 10 years.
So you're going to sign JT for 3-4 years and have this guy be the apprentice, and then he's going to be the next guy.
And like, if there's a blue chip catcher or a top 100 catcher, you're probably not going to get him. But this is where you have to really rely on your pro scouts to dig into somebody's farm system. and go out and get me a catcher you can really dream on. Maybe that would be it.
Jim, we talked a little earlier about the platoon now in left field that they're going to have. If Crawford's your starting center fielder, the platoon is Marsh and whomever, whether that's Kemp or Wes Wilson or whatever. How do you see that working out?
Probably Marsh with Kemp being, the right-handed half of that platoon, because Marsh just hasn't hit lefties enough, and then if you can combine them together and get some decent production, you might be all right. They're really eager to see what Kemp can do. He's hitting the minor leagues. He played hurt a lot last year. They think he's made, when he went down and came back up, made some good adjustments. Everybody loves his makeup. Anthony knows him. He's a really good guy. I mean, he's a gamer. He's tough, tough kid. They could end up being short in the outfield again. If Garcia doesn't produce, because you got a rookie in center field who has hit 300 at every level, but is not really a slug guy, and they have questions about how much he hits the ball on the ground, and he's just going to have natural growing pains. Every rookie has, except for Mike Trout. Every rookie has growing pains, and he's very, very young. He's going to be there. If he's their center fielder, which excuse me, barring Harrison Bader being out there on like February 5th and taking a 1-year deal, I see Crawford as being their center fielder. And on opening day, he'll be the youngest Phillies position player opening day starter since Scott Rowland in '97. That's a pretty good chunk of time.
Yeah.
So he's going to be young. He's going to have some growing pains. Not sure what you're going to get from him offensively. Marsh improved a lot last year against righties. We'll see what we get there. See if that's a decent platoon. But they were a middling offense in the outfield last year. The production they got. And it could be middling again. A lot depends on what they get out of Garcia. A lot depends on if they get some improvement out of Marsh facing right-handers, and what Kemp gives them against left-handers, and whatever you can get from Crawford at the bottom of the lineup, it to me would be gravy, as long as he doesn't get buried and as long as he can contribute and kind of move the line a little bit. I'll take that. But they could be again looking for offense at the trade deadline, but who knows? Right now, I think they're willing to kind of give this thing a shot out there. And the one guy, like I said, I think there's like a 0.5% chance Bader, if he doesn't get the 3-year deal, multi-year deal he's looking for, and he's out there as spring training is knocking on the door, maybe you say, you take a 1-year deal? I'll take a 1-year deal. All right, come on back. We'll move Crawford to left. But
and how much would that cost them on a 1-year deal?
Well, I don't know. And it depends what they were able to free up and what they have left after addressing this catching situation. Because
where are they right now in the payroll? 308?
They project to be over. They were about that last year. I think they were 313 on the luxury tax payroll, and they project to be over 300 again this year, and they're not done. So
here's one I have for you, Jim, because I think that this is an interesting thing with the Phillies. Is it possible that because they want to make inroads with Japanese players, and I know that we're getting close to the end of the posting period for the big names that have been posted already, do they potentially have something in reserve that might go beyond that 308 or 313 if they could get one of those guys just so that they can break that glass ceiling and get their first Japanese player?
Well, it depends how good that player is and how much it costs. I don't know if you want to have a major expenditure just to have a footprint over there. Right. I want to have a gosh darn contributor. Right. I don't know that they're in on any of these Japanese guys.
Okay.
But that said, if you never know, one lingers. And I've learned watching this team for a long time that they do react to opportunity. Like going way back, they had a budget going into like 2002 or 2003. They had this one budget, but they had a different budget if they thought they could get Jim Thome. So opportunity. And we saw it just a few years ago in spring of 2022 when they were in spring training. They got Schwarber. And all of a sudden, Castellanos is still out there, and Dombrowski went to ownership and said, "Hey, we got this opportunity to get this right-handed bat," and they found a way to come up with $20 million per year. So
he's a crab fries at $18.
If there's an opportunity, you never know, but they do have a lot of money wrapped up in this team, and I don't know how much higher they can go. They need the guys who are making all that money to produce.
Yeah.
And
Jim, always a pleasure to have you on. We really appreciate you coming on. And, since your days are leisurely now,
not that leisurely.
Yeah, you're trying to kill hours. I get it.
No, I'm not. You're the man of leisure, belonging to all those country clubs.
Oh, yeah. The bill always comes due, though. That's the problem. All right, Jimmy, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you down the road.
Hey, Ant, go Flyers.
Yeah, not bad, huh? They're playing good hockey,
huh?
They're playing some good hockey, huh?
Took a big one up in LaBelle Province the other night.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Happy holidays, man.
Yeah, take care,
you as
Jimmy.
well, Jimmy.
Happy holidays. There he is, Jim Salisbury, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll put the cap on that Phillies bullpen because there's 3 other guys that I want to throw your way. And also, big discussion coming on Sports Talk Radio. And the discussion is hot take radio versus what's the other station is posturing as non-hot take radio, right? Is that pretty much what it is? We'll talk about which take works after this. I'm Mike Missinelli. It's the OnPattison podcast.
Your day-to-day life is hectic between having to pick up the kids, make dinner, the countless other tasks that you got to get done. Rob's Automotive and Collision is there to make your life a whole lot easier. Make sure you take advantage of their spacious waiting rooms, the large flat-screen TVs, complimentary coffee and muffins, and free Wi-Fi. So even when you do have to stop, Rob's is there to make you feel right at home. Give Rob's a call today at 215-826-9200 for any of your auto repair needs.
Ventresca Limited, the Delaware Valley men's store, is located in historic Doylestown. For casual clothing in denim to business suits and tuxedos, Ventresca Limited has a large selection you have to see to believe. The experienced and knowledgeable sales staff can show you the many brand labels that have made Ventresca Limited in Doylestown a must for men concerned about their image. Select from Canali, Brax Jeans, Hickey Freeman, Johnson Murphy Footwear, and much more. Custom alterations are free. Visit Ventresca Limited on the web at ventresca.com.
A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City. A flawless occasion.
Are you living with relentless pain? St. Mary has a new way to help. Knee and hip replacements with a smarter process for faster recovery, earning prestigious awards for quality and value. A rapid recovery program has you walking just hours after surgery, and breakthrough advances such as custom-fit joints position you for a longer pain-free life. 215-710-5888. St. Mary Orthopedics. It's your health. Expect more.
All right, we're back with the OnPattison podcast. I am Mike Missinelli with Anthony Sanfilippo. All right, just to put a tail on that Phillies bullpen. I don't know. If you keep Strom, you're pretty healthy back there with 3 lefties: Alvarado, Strom, and Banks, and then you got Keller to Duran, but you also have Kirkring in there, and then there are 4 other guys that have a shot. Now Zach McCambley, Yaniel Cure from the guy they got from the Rays, Seth Johnson, who has no options left, by the way, throws 100. And Alex McFarland, who they added to the 40-man roster after his season last year in Double-A. So,
don't forget the first-round pick, Gage Wood from last year, right? Who they think ultimately could be a starter, but they may.
Yeah, they have time for him.
Part of the bullpen.
So if you look at it, the bullpen doesn't look as disastrous as it once looked.
No, it looks better. I will give them credit with the bullpen. I think that the bullpen, like last year, Mike, at this time, we were saying the bullpen looks an arm short. It looks like they didn't do enough in the bullpen. And I think right now, when you look at the bullpen, you go, okay, that's a pretty solid bullpen. And that's including Strong.
We're always
right?
optimistic in the offseason. Of course, Keller, 2.07 ERA, but 0.962 whip.
Yeah.
68 appearances last year, which is heady stuff.
And most of those were walks. Like he only gave up, I think it was 5.5 hits per 9 or something like that. Yeah, he doesn't give up a lot of hits.
All right, let's get into this subject that I know you're interested in as well, and I being in Sports Talk Radio for as many years, also interested. To me, a formula to do Sports Talk Radio was fairly simple. I didn't feel I had to put on any different airs or add anything. I just, my honesty was what I relied on mostly. But there seems to be this movement now where, well, let's just get to the backdrop story here. John Marks, who is a buddy of mine, who was actually my first producer when I came back to Philadelphia after spending a stint in New York with Stephen A. Smith, and we made great music at the Fanatic, and we were competitive. In fact, we had defeated that afternoon show that they had on. I forget who was the host of that show, but we took them off the air within 1 year. Or we beat its ratings within 1 year, took them off the air within 2 years. But anyway, John was a little steamed of the take of his counterpart at the other radio station, WIP, from Joe Giglio or Giglio, who I call White Urkel. But anyway, or Nerdface McGee, take your pick, whatever you want to call him. He said that he's the one that lit up this whole Jalen Hurts thing about he was going to give him one more chance, and if he didn't play well against the Raiders, we we're going to bench him. And Mark's countered by saying, if you want to say no to this kind of radio, give me a try. I like Joe G. He's a good dude, but this is embarrassing. He doesn't believe what he's saying. It's deliberate and calculated fake take radio at its finest. All right, Anthony, you open the salvo here, and I'll lend my comments to whatever you're thinking here.
So listen, Mike, I'm one of those guys who every time I get in the car, the talk radio is on, whether it's WIP or whether it's the Fanatic. I have one of them on in the car at all times. And maybe it's how I'm getting old, but as I get older, I get more annoyed at what I listen to. And I guess as a member of the media, I get annoyed because I think that there is so much more information at the disposal of fans today. And I think that they're dumber today than they ever were. And I think it's because of how they do things on radio right now. They rile people up with these takes that get people thinking that this is real, because the fan base in Philadelphia is so thirsty for information and conversation about their sports teams that they assume what they're hearing on talk radio is journalistic in tone and not entertainment in tone. And so, but I think the shift changed over time, back from when you were regularly on the air and other guys who came from the newspaper industry were the hosts, to be something that is more entertainment, less journalism. And I think that you guys always kept it real in the sense that you knew that you were entertaining, but at the same time rooted it in reality. Whereas now it's gotten to a point where they just throw stuff out just to get people fired.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think they're throwing this stuff out just to promote outrage, or are they that stupid?
I think some of it's maybe a little bit of both, actually. I think people
could he actually believe that the Eagles would be best suited benching Jalen Hurts?
No, I think Joe is a smarter guy. Like I think that
I don't know if he is or not.
No, but I think just listening to him, like I think he knows what he's doing. Whereas, like, I could go back to the Harper thing, right? Like that came out of a Saturday morning radio show on WIP with Devin Caney and Ruben Amaro, and Ruben saying that he wouldn't be surprised if the Phillies tried to move a bigger contract. Didn't say who it was, just said that he thought that the Phillies would try to move a bigger contract. And it was interpreted by first Devin and then other people at the station that it was going to be Bryce Harper. And so you take that with Dombrowski's comments about him not being elite this past year, and all of a sudden it gets turned into something that it never should have gotten turned into. You heard me complain a couple weeks ago about the Flyers situation with Couturier and Mishkov, and you have Hunter Brody screaming his head off about it. Like, this captain is ridiculous. Why is he calling out? He wasn't calling out his own player. If you had context behind that interview, you would have known there was more to it than that. So, but I think that gets people fired up, and I hate it.
But does that also work?
I'm sure it works.
Fired up, but does it work? And if it works, how do you argue against it? Their whole thing is to get that kind of visceral reaction, because visceral reaction means that you're going to listen more and you're going to yell at the radio and you're going to say how stupid these guys are and how idiotic they are.
Some people, but I also think that there are some people that are impressionable enough to think that it's real. And
let's look at the other stations doing it the exact opposite way. I work with Bill Colarulo. He's now doing Evening Drive, saying make the switch because we do real sports talk radio here. Marks is now doing the same thing. They're so far behind, though, in the ratings that there's no way they could possibly catch up.
Correct.
Doing even what they do. So where do you draw the line? WIP is giving people the outrage that they want to hear, whether they want to hear it or not, because they're listening to that station anyway.
Right. Because they can, because they can, right? But that doesn't necessarily. But that doesn't mean that everybody's going to do. Like I'm okay with 97.5 going with the whole make the switch mantra, because I think there is a segment of people who are fed up with WIP who will say, all right, yeah, I'll do it. But it's not enough. It's not going to make enough of it.
Here's the problem. You can't. It's like at this point, the Fanatic would have to hire an airplane and drop little parachutes down, saying that this is what we do now. Because the message isn't getting heard by enough people. The people that John Marks is talking to, saying make the switch, are people that are listening to his show anyway. He's not lecturing to the WIP audience because he's not getting to the WIP audience. Like how's he get to the WIP audience? By word of mouth or little parachutes coming down? Like that's what I'm talking about. That's why you can't win.
You and I are talking about it today, right? We right now have 700 people watching us live right now. So 700 people are hearing us.
Well, here's the thing. Let's be honest, because I faced this when I was up against them, and we did a good job. And I can tell you the downfall of the Fanatic began when they fired program director Matt Nahagian, who was a guy who knew exactly what he was doing, and we were competitive at that point with the other station. The other station is a legacy station. They've been around since when? The 50s?
Yeah.
So that brand is already out there. And second of all, they have rights to the two biggest entities in town, the Phillies and the Eagles. So when you're listening to that station, you're listening to the bigger sports that are running this town. And so you're going to be more reluctant to change to the other station. You've already gotten the cachet. They have the cachet of the Phillies and the Eagles.
Well, yeah. And like I said, I can't tell you. I mean, it's the truth. When I go in and I turn on the car, I don't turn off the radio, right? So when I turn on the car, what comes on? It's usually WIP, but I do switch back and forth because I want to listen to what both stations are saying because of what I do. But it's usually the first thing I have on when I turn the car on. It's there.
I can tell you that I have never listened to WIP.
Ever?
Since I left that station way back. I never listened to it, so I couldn't tell you who's on. But it seems that they have a simple formula. You put any ex-football player on, preferably ex-Eagle on, with any nerd co-host, and you got instant success. Look at the co-host. Look at the hosts that they have over there that are with the ex-Eagles. They got Larry, Curly, and Shemp. They don't even have Mo. Mo would be too cool for them.
Do they have a Joe? Do they have a Joe? Do you remember Joe, the other three stooge, the third stooge?
Yeah, Curly Joe. Curly Joe and Joe.
Yeah.
That's what they got. I don't know how Mo's too cool. They got Shemp, they got Larry, and they got Curly. They're the co-hosts. It's like nerds are us over there. I mean, with all due respect. I mean, that's the formula, right? You put any ex-Eagle on with them, and you're going to have instant ratings.
Yeah, but I get it, Mike. But the other thing that drives me, and look, we talk Eagles on here. We have to. I understand it, right? This is Philadelphia. The Eagles are number one in this town. We have to talk Eagles. Mm-hmm. But you remember back in the day when WIP was at its heyday, like you guys talked about the Eagles, but you also talked about everything else.
Yeah.
Like it
Well,
wasn't
we
90%
listen,
Eagles.
we were knowledgeable people who had covered sports, were journalists who had personalities.
Yeah.
And all we did was rely on that. And we relied on the honesty, whether it was a tough take. It was never an outlandish take to get ratings. It was always a tough take.
Right.
If we had to take a tough take, which got a lot of people angry with us, but that's the way we had to do sports talk radio.
Yeah. But I mean, I just remember as a producer, like you would get Eagles calls, Phillies calls, Flyers calls, Sixers calls, like Penn State calls, St. Joe's basketball when they were good,
Yeah,
right?
but you gotta be careful, Anthony. Sports talk radio again is an entity that has to play the hits. You can't be wandering off into talk. Nobody cares about Penn State football unless you went to Penn State. Nobody cares about the hockey unless they're really plugged into the Flyers.
Yeah.
This is a main thrust town. You got to play that hit.
I get it.
I
get it.
You come from a different. You're cut from a different cloth. I know that.
I am. But
you wouldn't say that you're your average sports talk listener.
No, and look, I took advantage of it. Let's be honest, Mike. I mean, there's a reason my hockey podcast does as well as it does, because I recognized that there wasn't that option out there.
Yeah.
And so we created one that people listen to, right? And so that gave an outlet to hockey fans that they didn't have to, because they knew they weren't getting it off of talk radio. So I get it. I knew that. I understand the whole play that hits thing, and I took advantage of it for myself. But at the same time, it's tough with the same thing over and over and over again every day.
In a perfect world, you would like to think that straight sports talk radio would work, but apparently in this town it doesn't, unless it's embellished by goofy fake takes. So
have you ever listened to sports talk in other cities and how different it is than it is here?
Yeah, it's more serious.
Yes, it's different,
but it's also more boring.
I agree. It's not as entertaining. That is true.
So there you go. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We have some college football to talk about as well here. We got my picks of the week coming up. And the big question of do these small schools belong in the college football playoffs? You got two of them from the group of five, Tulane and JMU, both very heavy underdogs. Do they belong in, or should it be 12 concentrated great teams? It is the OnPattison podcast. I'm Mike Missinelli with Anthony Sanfilippo. We're back after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Warm up this fall with an incredible seafood boil. Try the Uncle George with succulent snow crabs, tasty mussels, and shrimp. There's the Pete's Feast with 2 pounds of sweet succulent crab legs, a dozen shrimp, clams, and a pound of mussels. Or create your own boil. Add a lobster tail or a delicious Dungeness cluster. Include smoked sausage, corn, and potatoes, served in our tasty broth, made with white wine and our signature seasonings. A shellfish lover's dream at Chickies and Pete's.
This is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. Every champion needs a good game plan. BCWSA and I want to make sure you have a game plan when it comes to conserving our most precious resource, water. Whether you're washing dishes, brushing your teeth, or watering your garden, there are ways you can save water and save money. Visit bcwsa.net for tips on conserving water.
The Peruzzi Automotive Group on Business Route 1 in Fairless Hills is looking for auto techs, all skill levels. Here's a chance to work for a locally owned family business that offers many benefits. For more information, call the service director, John Damarotis, at 215-943-6200. That's 215-943-6200, or visit any Peruzzi service department.
Are you living with relentless pain? St. Mary has a new way to help. Knee and hip replacements with a smarter process for faster recovery, earning prestigious awards for quality and value. A rapid recovery program has you walking just hours after surgery, and breakthrough advances such as custom-fit joints position you for a longer pain-free life. 215-710-5888. St. Mary Orthopedics. It's your health. Expect more.
Thanks for viewing the show. It is the OnPattison podcast. Mike Missinelli, Anthony Sanfilippo. And I can't go any further without your Flyers report, the Anthony Sanfilippo Flyers report, with the big news of Tyson Forster. What the Flyers will do right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, we knew he was going to be out for a little while anyway. I mean, he was originally diagnosed with an arm injury that was going to keep him out 2 to 3 months. They thought he could get back right after the Olympics. Turned out that he got a second opinion. They decided to go in and do a surgery. It sounds like it's in his shoulder, upper arm area. It's going to keep him out for the entirety of the regular season. There's a small chance that he could come back if they make the playoffs. But this is a big loss for them for the rest of the year, Mike, because he is their best all-around forward. I mean, Trevor Zegras is their most productive forward, best offensive forward. But Forster is their best all-around forward. And replacing him is not going to be an easy thing to do. So far, they've done a fine job. They're 3-1-3 since he got hurt, right? So points in 6 out of 7 games. But those 3 overtime losses or shootout losses are still losses. Nevertheless, they're in 3rd place in the division, and they got 4 relatively winnable games here coming up before Christmas. If you can take advantage of these, get 6 points in these 4 games, you're in a pretty good spot at the holiday from where they have their best record at this point in the season since the pandemic. So this is the best that they've been. Even a couple years ago when they had that fake run to the playoffs, they got knocked out the last day. That was they're better than they were at that point last year, that season. So I think that they're in a good spot. I like the way Vladar. I keep bringing up Dan Vladar, man, but like he's been excellent in goal, excellent. And without him, this team is not a playoff team. But if he
ask about Michkov, a lot of people are, expected him to dominate the league. He really hasn't dominated the league. They look at Celebrini out there and go, "Oh my God, look at that!" But what's your theory on that?
Well, my theory is that he's just not he's not in the shape he needs to be in. Obviously, came into camp 10 pounds, 12 pounds overweight, wasn't ready to go, and he's been playing catch up. Now the Flyers are trying to protect him a little bit. They're keeping him at around 15 minutes a game ice time. They're, got him on like a 3rd line as opposed to top line, not putting him in situations where he can make mistakes or gets beat because he's not skating as well as he needs to. And I think he's, been a little bit better lately, but he's been a disappointment for his 2nd year. There's no question about it. They hope he's going to stick around for the Olympic break, spend those 17 days in the gym, skating hard, trying to catch up and get where he needs to be. And you hope that looks a lot like the guy he was last year after the Olympic break. But if not, it's all about next offseason. And you just chalk it up to a mistake of youth for a 21-year-old player.
All right. Sounds good. That's Anthony's Flyers report. Nice job, man. Sixers report. Do we have a Sixers report? We don't, except for Paul George, maybe a little bit of a resurgence here. What's going on? All of a sudden, he throws 35 in.
No, he decided not to do his podcast anymore, and so now he's concentrating on basketball, right?
Well, that's good. I'd like to see that. It's like,
who knows, Mike? I mean, look, they are a team that if they could just figure out how to stay healthy, they could compete in the Eastern Conference. They can. I just don't think that I just don't know. I don't trust it. There's nothing to trust there.
Yeah, I agree. They're in 5th spot right now. 5th spot is about as high as I thought they could possibly get.
They're only 2 games out of 3rd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're hanging in there. Also, big news was the NBA's Referees Association kind of took a backhanded slap at Ala Abdelnaby, the color broadcaster, because there was a play against the Hawks where they thought a backcourt should have been called. And Al was saying, look, he's got the ball, but in fact, the fact is the rule was correct. If your momentum takes you into the backcourt, it's not a backcourt violation.
Right.
So the NBA Referees Association put out a general statement saying that any analyst should know the rules before he comments on such. Taking a shot. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's good. I agree with them. Like if you are a broadcaster for a sport, you should know the rules of the sport. It drives me crazy when I watch the national football games as well. Like, sometimes the analysts are a little bit unclear of the rule, and you sit there and you're yelling at your TV like, I know the rule. How do you not know the rule, right?
Yeah.
So I agree. I mean, I can understand if it, maybe not so much on a local broadcast. Maybe you go, okay.
Especially they have rabbit ears. They hear everything. My God.
Yeah.
You're going to have a local broadcast. You're going to pick something out from a local broadcast.
Yeah.
Have rabbit ears about it. Get the red butt over it. Come on, man. All right. Let's talk some college football. First of all, Diego Pavia. I was watching that ceremony when it happened.
Yeah.
When they announced it was Mendoza, you could see the expression on his face. He he wasn't happy at all for the kid. He was bitter, and then afterwards he puts out a social media alert saying "F the voters." Blah blah blah. Blah. We're gonna have a good time, whatever. And you had a problem with that, obviously, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to know better, right? I mean, you got to know that you're on the national stage here, and you might be disappointed with it, but you can't take away from the other guy who had a great year, and you got to give him credit. And secondarily, you can bitch and complain about it behind the scenes all you want. You can't do it publicly because it's going to be taken, every which way, but loose there, and you're gonna get destroyed on social media and by everybody. Everybody's going to take notice. You just got to be smart about it. That's all. I just think I think it's a lesson for him. It's going to be
yeah.
He apologized.
Will it hurt his draft prospects? I mean, I don't even know if he's the guy that gets drafted, to be honest with you.
It shouldn't hurt your draft prospects.
Yeah, but he's like 5'8".
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a pro prospect anyway.
Yeah. Let's put it this way. Let's imagine it was somebody like, Peyton Manning when he was coming out, right? And he didn't win the Heisman and said something like that.
Yeah.
Would that have stopped him from getting drafted second overall? First overall?
Probably not.
First overall, I guess he was that year. Yeah, first overall. No, it wouldn't have stopped
Yeah.
it. So I don't think it's going to hurt Diego Pavia either, even assuming he gets drafted.
All right. Let's look at the college football playoffs. Now, you got a big game. First of all, there's a big football game tonight with the Rams in Seattle. But tomorrow is the first game for the college football playoffs, and that is going to be Alabama and Oklahoma.
Yep.
Now, there are two games that are going to be played this weekend involving what they call the group of five. There's the main four conferences, and the group of five gets in. Usually one spot gets them in, but two got in this year, Tulane and JMU. And there's all this outrage because Tulane is a 17.5 underdog, 17.5 point underdog, and Oregon is a 21-point favorite over JMU. Do these group of five schools belong in the college football playoffs? A lot of people say, yeah, the Cinderella, blah, blah, blah. But in football, a Cinderella can never win. So do they belong in or not?
I'm torn on this one, Mike. And I'm going to say yes, they belong, because I say yes, they belong in basketball as well, right? And I agree with you, but I agree with you that in football's a different story. Basketball, you only need to have five guys on the floor at once. And so those mid-majors or smaller schools, you could get five good players, right? You may not have the depth that the big schools have, but you could get five good players and be competitive. Whereas in football, you need 22 good players, right? And it's a big difference. It's a numbers game.
Plus in basketball, you can control the pace of the game.
Yeah, there's a lot more.
You can do little things to keep you involved in the game. In football, you can't do that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And so that's why I'm torn and sit there and say, yeah, maybe they don't belong as much. I just like the fact, Mike, that it's not just guaranteed that the big six conferences automatically get these 12 spots. I like the fact that these smaller schools have a shot to get in. And every once in a while, you get a Boise State type team who can beat a top six school. You might not have them this year, but you might have that in a given year.
Here's the difference. Boise State that year, when you were talking about that undefeated, they were nationally ranked. They were highly ranked. They were undefeated, and they looked like that they were a representative team.
Yeah,
like, you can't tell me that JMU and Tulane are going to be representative.
No, but that's what I'm saying. This is a bad year for to make this argument. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that you could have a team like that, like a Boise State years ago, that comes out of this group in a given year and go, yeah, they're a group of five school, but they're good enough to compete at that level for 1 year. May not be beyond 1 year, but for 1 year, they can compete at that level. So you got to at least have the opportunity for them to be there. And these teams are a sign that the opportunity exists.
One of these things about the smaller schools is that, the good players on those smaller schools get out of there and transfer with the portal now.
That's the other problem.
You even have fewer good players that are playing for JMU and Tulane. And you also have coaches leaving.
Yeah. Yeah.
for bigger jobs.
The whole system's a mess right now. It just needs to be fixed. The whole system needs to be fixed.
All right, how about this? How about a separate playoff for the group of 5?
But what do they get out of that? Like we're number 13. Is that what it is? It's like we're playing to be number 13. It's the NIT.
Yeah,
It's like, what is it? Like, no. Unless they should have a shot every year to play for a championship. I just think that they deserve a chance. Even if they're probably not going to win. We thought for all those years, Mike, in basketball.
Probably not. Do you know how many hoops they would have to go through to win?
Well, listen, for all those years, we thought there was never a shot for a number 16 to beat a number 1 in basketball. We just thought that the disparities were too far.
Yeah.
And then we've had it happen a couple times in the last several years. So maybe right now we look at this and say teams like Tulane and James Madison have no prayer. But who knows if they stick with this 20 years from now, maybe a group of 5 school is good enough to pull off that upset.
I can't see how that would happen. You would have to get blue chip players going to those schools.
Maybe a coach who was retired decides to come back with a small school, figures it out and turns it around, and Rick Pitino's it and gets a bunch of players to go there, right?
All right. Let me just here. I'm leading to this point here. I saw this chart on total football expenses that the schools spend on their football programs. Alabama heads the list at $112.2 million. So this is all the money they spend, including the NIL, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
112.2. Texas A&M, 82.2. Ohio State, 78.6. Miami, 78.1. Georgia, 68.9. Oklahoma, 65.8. Indiana, 61.3. Ole Miss, 57.1. Oregon, 53.9. Texas Tech, 34.4. James Madison, 15.9 mil, and Tulane spends $13 million.
I'm surprised they spend that much.
Compete with that.
I'm surprised they spend that much, in all honesty. I thought you were going to get down. It was going to be like around 2 or 3 million. Like, I didn't think it was going to be that high for James Madison.
Yeah, well, they got some boosters that are kicking in, I guess.
Yeah.
Coaching staff.
You're right. But you know what, though, Mike? There have been even in professional sports, there sometimes are those small market clubs who don't spend nearly as much as the big market teams who find a way to pull off that upset. It happens. Doesn't happen often? No. But can it happen? Conceivably, possibly, yes. Maybe not with James Madison and Tulane this year. But maybe a smaller school looks at them and sees, maybe they give these guys a competitive game. They don't win this weekend, but they give a competitive game, right? And then maybe
anybody can give. I think Tulane can actually be competitive in this game.
Okay, so let's say Tulane has a competitive game, right?
Yeah.
So maybe
what's that do for you? That what?
Well, maybe you look at it and go, okay, well, we spent $13 million. Maybe we fundraise and we find a way to get it up to, we start spending $20 million. And now you're getting closer to the next tier of schools, right? And you start to, maybe you keep doing it that way. That's how you grow the program. Hey, Delaware won a bowl game yesterday.
They did. I watched the end of that game. They survived that last minute red zone.
But 10 years ago, could you ever imagine Delaware as a 1AA school playing in a bowl game?
They beat the Raging Cajuns, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, so things like that can happen over time.
What 76er was a Raging Cajun?
Wow. Raging Cajun.
I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this. We can check this a little later. But I think Andrew Toney.
Was he really?
Raging Cajun.
Okay.
I think so. I could be wrong on that.
Okay.
But in any event, let's get to a couple other things here that we haven't talked about. You're upset that Aaron Rodgers is going to the playoffs. Why does it bother you?
It's not that it bothers me. It's just that, like, I wanted to tie that in with Phillip Rivers, right? Coming back and playing. And it was competitive. He did a fine job. It's the fact that they're over 40, can barely play the position anymore, and they're out there playing competitive football. What does it say about the depth of the quarterback position in the sport?
Quarterbacks aren't as cerebral as those guys are. That's what it tells you.
So let me ask this question then, Mike, because you say that. We hear all the time, you can't win unless you have a good quarterback. Well, is that kind of overblown? Are we making too much of the position of quarterback in the
I don't
NFL?
know, man. The quarterback has to make the proper decisions for you to win, no matter what you do. And we would say until we're blue in the face, the defense can win a Super Bowl. Very rarely does that happen. The quarterback has to make some plays to win a Super Bowl.
Well, yeah,
Jalen Hurts made some plays to win a Super Bowl.
they have to make some play. Yes, I'm not saying they could be terrible, but you do not need a superstar quarterback to win.
Yeah,
You need a quarterback who can manage the game for you.
Philip Rivers is not long for this season. He's going to get hurt like in his next game or whatever. It's inevitable. And Rodgers figures out a way to escape all that stuff, although he gets banged up a lot as well.
Yeah.
All right, one other thing. First time since 1998. This is hard to believe. First time since 1998 in the NFL. No Peyton, no Brady, no Mahomes.
Isn't that wild?
It's crazy.
It's been that long, like 27 years that those three quarterbacks have dominated in the AFC, and you're going to have a playoff without one of them this year for the first time.
Yeah.
It's a changing of the guard, I guess, maybe. But I mean, Mahomes will be back, obviously. But I look at that AFC and it's wide open. I mean, Josh Allen's obviously the best quarterback, but I'm not convinced Buffalo's the best team. I told you earlier, I like the Houston Texans. I think their defense.
Hop on the Texans. You can get some good money value on that.
Yeah, I
money
really
value. It's time for the picks of the week, Ian.
Yes. Let's do the picks of the week.
Last week, I for some reason did not put my picks of the week out there, and I would have had a pretty good week.
Yeah,
but again, people always say, "Well, yeah, sure." After the fact, you would say that. Yeah. No, all right. Let's go to what my picks. I like Texas A&M -3 against Miami.
Yeah,
I think that defense that Texas A&M has will hold Miami down. Listen, that could very easily go the other way, but I'll take the Aggies in that game. I'll also take Oregon 21.5 against JMU. I could see this being like a 48-13 game.
Yeah. I think that's about right. I think that's an easy play. I think Oregon's an easy play this week.
And in pro football, the Packers -1.5 at the Bears. Packers favorite going in the Soldier.
I'm a little something. Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that line too, Mike. And I think it is a Packers line. Because I think that, you look at it and you say the Bears have been such a fun story this year. Yeah. And this is their biggest game. And when was the last time the Bears were good, right? Like in forever. And they're a home underdog. Like I'm a little surprised by that. So my pick, and you kind of teased it already, is the Houston Texans. If the Eagles shut out the Raiders, what's that Houston defense going to do to the Raiders? 14.5. Usually I like to take underdogs. But in this game, I look at it, I say Houston's going to clobber the Raiders.
If Houston can score more than 14.5.
I think that's going to be like
they might win 14-0.
I think that's going to be like a 28-6 is going to be the final score.
Sounds good. One last thing I want to talk about. Very tragic news of Rob Reiner.
Yeah.
He and his wife. And when I think of Rob Reiner, I always think of the one movie, and it's a go-to movie for me. Every time it's on, I watch it. And it's called A Few Good Men.
Oh, yeah.
Every time that is on, I am glued to it. I don't know what it is, but amazing. And we found out this week that Rob Reiner actually trained in New Hope at the New Hope Playhouse.
Yes.
Career.
Yeah.
So he's got some kind of local tie there. But anyway, you like A Few Good Men?
Oh, I love A Few Good Men. It's a play. It was originally a play by Aaron Sorkin and then turned into a movie.
He wrote the screenplay.
Yeah. And
he put himself in the movie. Do you remember where he is? In the movie, he made a cameo in A Few Good Men.
Was he at the little conversation down in Guantanamo?
No, he was at the bar when Tom Cruise was pondering his fate on whether to call Nathan R. Jessup.
Oh, okay.
He was hearing Aaron Sorkin at the bar talking about, I'm going to file 1 million motions and blah blah blah, like going over the mundane work that he had to do as a lawyer.
Yeah, yeah. It's such a great script and was such a great cast. I mean, that everybody in that cast was great. I loved even a guy like Kevin Pollak in that movie. Who's a great character, like a really, really juicy role.
Weinberg. He was Weinberg.
Yeah.
Why do you like him so much? Because they stand on a post.
I have no responsibility here whatsoever.
Stand By Me, which is a classic.
Yeah.
Princess Bride, which is a classic. When Harry Met Sally, of course, a classic as well. The Rob Reiner.
But the all-timer with Rob Reiner is Meathead.
Oh, yeah. He was Meathead in All in the Family, obviously.
Yeah, that was those battles with Archie Bunker, man, were
Yep.
some of the all
We got to
timers.
start.
Yeah.
Yep.
All
All right, Ian,
time.
we got anything else that we didn't cover today?
No, I think we did good, Mike. I think you remembered your picks. That was the most important thing.
Yeah, I remember my picks. Thanks everybody again for watching the show. We're getting a lot of great compliments on the show. Thanks for joining in every day. This show needs to be on every day, Steve Savino says.
Yes.
I don't know if I have every day left in me, Ant.
No, I know. I don't have time to do it every day, Mike.
Yeah, you cover two teams. You don't have enough time either. So anyway, thanks for the compliment anyway.
Yeah.
Everybody have a great rest of the day. For Anthony Sanfilippo and Mike Misnelli for the OnPattison podcast. We'll check you out next Thursday. Bye-bye.